Jack, how do you see the matchup unfolding against the Indianapolis Colts this weekend? Is that a favorable one for the 49ers?
I think this is going to be an interesting game because I believe that I haven't been following Indianapolis enough, but I believe that Quentin Nelson's been out a little bit. Their left guard.
He has.
He's supposed to be returning. So, that's a plus on their side if he's
Big
out
time.
there. Yeah, and I think the Colts might be just teams go through phases throughout the year. They kind of go through ups and downs, and I think that maybe they're getting into a part now where they're a little healthier. They're kind of getting their feet underneath them a little bit. Um, Carson Wentz, remember, beat the 49ers a year ago.
Right?
And so, with a team that probably isn't even as good as Indianapolis. So it's, this is a game that having seen what we've seen of the 49ers the last 4 weeks, I don't look at any matchup and say this is a matchup for the 49ers that they're going to win. I think there's things that you can point to that are favorable. But I think that it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be interesting to see how DeForest Buckner steps up playing at home or
Yeah.
coming back.
A revenge game for Buck. That is going to be tough to watch. I was saying earlier that I probably will need a box of tissues for the tears that I shed thinking about what Buckner could have been doing on our defensive line. It does seem as if Indianapolis, much like the 49ers, because of injuries, because of inconsistent play, have gone from a team that most pundits, most media folks viewed as a legitimate threat within the AFC, very much like the 49ers within the NFC, to where expectations were reasonably high. There have been some injuries and things that you can point to that would explain a bit of the struggles that have occurred. But even with those solid reasons in tow, you would still say to this point have underperformed for the amount of talent that's on the team. And so it sets up as one of those unknown matchups. I've not gone through specifically to look at where I think the 49ers will win the matchup and where I think the Colts will. But Jack, just high level, what do you see as the strengths for that Colts team coming in?
I think you look at their running game has been pretty consistent. They've been,
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent in their running game. They've been over 100 yards for, as a team throughout. On defense, they kind of struggle a little bit over there. But, you go through and you look at Indianapolis and you look at who they've played against and who they've lost to. They lost to the Rams. The Rams are a team that I think everybody would agree is better than the 49ers.
Yes.
They lost to they lost to the Seahawks. And the Seahawks we've seen the Seahawks come in and beat the 49ers.
Yep.
In a game that maybe the 49ers probably could have won. So you maybe give them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt on that one. And they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. And, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, there's not a quarterback it's in this 49er building that's even close to what Baltimore puts out there.
Forget about it. Baltimore. Goodness gracious.
Right. So they've been able to, and then they blew out Houston this last week. So, I think they're a team at 2-4 that's maybe a little underrated from folks because people, they look at the record, they see some of the issues that they've had there and just kind of chalk this up as a game the 49ers should win. And quite frankly, if the 49ers are a playoff team, they should, but that's kind of where we are right now.
That's a great point. That's the type of game that you absolutely have to win. Are those ones that you look on the schedule and they're against inconsistent teams? If you want to be a consistent team in the NFL, you must beat the inconsistent ones. When you look at what Indianapolis was able to do on Sunday against Houston, do you find that to be more of a reflection upon an Indianapolis team that is regaining their strength and catching their stride just in time for the 49ers to have to play them, or an inferior opponent in Houston, or a bit of both?
No, I think they've gotten better over the last few weeks. They started off with those two losses to the NFC West teams, and then they're 2-2 in their last four going against AFC teams. It's win loss, loss win. But I think they've kind of found themselves a little bit there, and I do expect this to be I don't think the 49ers are going to get blown out. I don't think the 49ers are going to blow them out. I think this is going to be a game that it's going to come down to, probably somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 points, and the team that makes the fewer mistakes is going to be the one that comes out with as the winner.
Admittedly, I never like to see an NFL player get injured. That is obviously from a human aspect, just not something I ever want to witness or ever really want to never celebrate. But it was a bit of a sigh of relief for me with the Paris Campbell injury. As I'm confusing two names now, aren't I? But Paris, the wide receiver for the Colts, it really felt to me as if the wide receivers there did in fact match up well against the defensive backs and may have been able to get over the top of the 49ers defense, and that we'd be primarily in a too high safety look going against the matchup there. Do you see that now as breaking the 49ers way, or do you think that they'll still have trouble with Carson Wentz attacking them over the top?
It's going to be interesting. They still have Michael Pittman. He's their best receiver. So that's kind of where it starts with them is it with Pittman, and then they have Pascal, who's their next. So, and I'm not sure. I have to go through it and look and see where these guys are right now as far as their health and things like that. But those are their top two. So from a game planning standpoint, I think it's the difficult part with this one is because you have that running back that can really pound you. If the 49ers have struggled with playing their two deep safeties and playing the run, that's kind of been one of their Achilles heels at times this season. So it's going to be kind of an interesting to watch how they try to match this up with them. We saw them play really well though last week against a really good quarterback, a little bit different type of an offense and running game in Arizona. We saw them do a really good job against Seattle as well with kind of shutting that down, especially early on. So it's one of those games where I think they're gonna have to. There's going to be a little bit of a balancing act between running that too deep safe look that they do and imagine, and then putting an extra guy in the box to slow Taylor down, because I think Taylor is going to be the one that really sets this whole matchup up for Indianapolis.
Yeah. And I just did confirm Paris Campbell. I did not have a brain seizure up there that eliminated that name. Yeah, he had the 51-yard reception for a touchdown. And in previous years, I know he had been a potential breakout star that just can't seem to stay healthy. And I feel for the guy. And obviously you have a threat there coming up in T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman Jr. Obviously, that is going to be a tough matchup there for the 49ers. Do you think that the game plan coming in will be aimed, though, at primarily stopping Jonathan Taylor with that as the primary focus for the defense?
I think in some ways what you're going to see from the 49ers, what we've seen from them so far is they're going to in a game like this, they're going to kind of give you the ability to run the ball because most teams just don't stick with it in the NFL. Most teams will run it a little bit, but they really are trying to get everything set up for the pass. So I think what you probably see is the 49ers give up a lot of yards on the ground in the middle of the field. We talked about this, I think, after the Eagles game, where they, because that's what they did in that game. You're just going to see them give up a lot of yards in the middle of the field, but they're going to tighten it up in the red zone area. I think that we're going to kind of see them get back to that type of a plan this week against Indianapolis, just because of the way that they run the ball. It's one of those things. I don't think they're going to be able to shut down Taylor all day long.
That makes sense. Just a prediction from you here, Jack. Do you think that Wentz will have time to throw on Sunday, or will he be under pretty constant duress?
I think he'll be okay. I think he's going to have some pressure. It's going to be, but Bosa's been playing really well this year. The 49ers really need to get something from the middle of their defensive line, though,
to get that interior pass rush.
Yeah, because right now it's pretty much Nick Bosa and maybe somebody else cleaning it up every once in a while. But they're not getting consistent rush up the middle from anybody. That's why they miss. That's why they miss DeForest Buckner so much.
Yeah, that is painful to watch, and unfortunately, we will witness him on the other side of the ball on Sunday. All right, well, looking forward, assuming that we can pull off a victory on Sunday, or even if we